2:13 in the morning, a woman received a voice message from her brother. It was only 11 seconds long. There was no greeting, no explanation, just breathing. Slow, heavy. Then his voice whispered, "Don't come looking for me." She listened to it 3 times, and on the 4th listen, she noticed something she hadn't heard before. A second voice, very close to the microphone. It whispered the same words, but backwards. Her brother disappeared less than an hour later. His car was found exactly where he said he was going. His phone was still inside. His wallet was on the driver's seat. And the recording, it was the last thing he ever sent. But months later, someone discovered something even worse. The recording wasn't made at 2:13. It was made almost 3 hours earlier. So who had his phone? And why did the final recording sound like someone knew exactly what was about to happen? Part 1. The message. Ethan Cole was the kind of person who rarely scared easily. He worked late. He drove alone at night. And he spent most weekends exploring abandoned roads and forgotten places outside town. That Friday night started normally. At around 10:40 p.m., Ethan left work and sent his sister Rachel a simple text. Heading home. Nothing unusual. 20 minutes later, he sent another message. I'm taking the old route. Rachel remembered that immediately, because Ethan almost never used the old route. It was longer, darker, and most of the road passed through an area where there was almost no cell service. She called him. No answer. Then at 2:13 a.m., her phone vibrated. A voice message from Ethan. Rachel pressed play. For the first few seconds, there was only breathing. Then Ethan whispered, "Don't come looking for me." The message ended. Rachel immediately called back. His phone rang once, then went dead. She called again. Nothing. At first, she thought he was playing some stupid prank. But then she heard something in the background of the recording, a faint metallic sound, like someone dragging something across a concrete floor. And beneath it, a voice, too quiet to understand. Rachel turned up the volume. The voice became clearer. It sounded like Ethan, but it wasn't saying the same thing. It was repeating, "She's listening." Rachel froze, because Ethan had never mentioned anyone being with him. And she was certain of one thing. He knew she would listen. Part 2. The old route. Rachel waited until sunrise before contacting the police. She gave them Ethan's last known location, the old route, a narrow road surrounded by thick trees and abandoned properties. 2 officers searched the area that morning. At 8:17 a.m., they found Ethan's car. It was parked beside an abandoned service building. The driver's door was unlocked. The engine was cold. His wallet was inside. His keys were still in the ignition. And his phone was lying on the passenger seat. That made no sense. Rachel had received the voice message from that same phone. So if the phone was in the car, who sent the recording? Investigators checked the device. The recording was still there, 11 seconds long, but the timestamp was strange. It showed 11:26 p.m., almost 3 hours before Rachel received it. At first, investigators assumed the phone had malfunctioned. Then they checked the metadata. The file had been created at 11:26, modified at 2:13, and sent at 2:13. Someone or something had opened the recording hours after it was made. Rachel couldn't stop thinking about one detail. Ethan's message had said, "Don't come looking for me." But if he recorded it at 11:26, what happened during those missing hours? Police searched the abandoned building. Nothing. No blood. No clothing. No signs of a struggle. Only an old security camera mounted above the entrance. The camera had no internet connection, but it was still recording. And when investigators checked the footage, they saw Ethan arrive at 11:21 p.m. He got out of his car, walked toward the building, stopped, and looked directly at the camera. Then he appeared to say something. 5 seconds later, he walked inside. He never came back out. Part 3. What the camera saw. The investigators watched the footage again and again. There was something strange about Ethan's behavior. He wasn't running. He wasn't panicking. He looked confused, almost like he was following someone. At 11:21 p.m., Ethan entered the building. At 11:24, the lights inside flickered. At 11:26, the camera briefly lost power, only for 7 seconds. When the image returned, Ethan was standing outside, but nobody had seen him walk out. He was facing the building. His head was lowered. His hands were hanging at his sides. Then he slowly raised one hand and pointed toward the camera. The footage ended there. The strange part, the camera's clock showed 11:26 p.m., but another camera at a nearby gas station showed Ethan's car arriving at 11:43. That meant one of the timestamps was wrong, or Ethan had somehow appeared in two places. Investigators eventually recovered another piece of footage from inside the building. It was only 30 seconds long. The camera showed an empty hallway. Nothing moved. Then at 11:26, Ethan's voice could be heard, but Ethan wasn't visible. His voice came from somewhere deeper inside the building. He whispered, "She's listening." The same words Rachel had heard in the recording. Then came a second voice, a woman's voice. It whispered, "No, she heard us." The footage abruptly ended, and when investigators returned to the building the next morning, the security camera was gone. So was the entire recording system. Whoever or whatever had been inside that building seemed to know exactly what the investigators were looking for, and they had left one final clue behind, a single audio file saved on the building's old computer. The file name contained only one thing: Rachel Part 4, the file named Rachel. Rachel stared at the computer screen. Her name was still there. Rachel. She asked the investigators to open the file. They did. For the first 6 seconds, there was only static. Then Ethan's voice appeared, but this time he wasn't whispering. He sounded terrified. "Rachel, if you hear this, don't trust the voice." Silence. Then Ethan continued, "It knows what you sound like." Rachel's face went pale. The recording suddenly changed. A woman's voice began speaking. It sounded exactly like Rachel. Not similar, exactly like her. The same tone, the same breathing, the same way she pronounced Ethan's name. Ethan. The real Rachel stepped away from the computer. She hadn't said that, but the recording had. Then came another sound, a door opening. Ethan whispered, "It's outside." 3 seconds later, the recording ended. The investigators checked the computer's creation date. The file had been created at 2:14 a.m., 1 minute after Rachel received Ethan's final message. But there was something impossible about that. The computer had no internet connection, and nobody had entered the building since 7 p.m. So how had a file containing Rachel's voice appeared on the machine? Part 5, the second phone. 2 days passed. There was still no sign of Ethan. The police searched the surrounding woods. They searched the abandoned building again. Nothing. Then Rachel received another message. This time, it wasn't from Ethan's phone. It came from an unknown number. The message contained only one sentence: "You shouldn't have listened." Rachel immediately gave the phone to investigators. They traced the number. It didn't exist. Not disconnected, not blocked. It simply wasn't registered to any network. Then another message arrived. A photograph. Rachel opened it and immediately dropped the phone. It was a picture of her own house, taken from across the street. The photograph had clearly been taken that night, but Rachel lived alone. She checked every window, every door, nothing. Then her phone vibrated again. Another picture. This one was taken from much closer. It showed her bedroom window, and standing behind the glass was Rachel, but she was looking directly at the camera. The real Rachel was downstairs. She hadn't been in her bedroom. The investigators assumed someone was trying to frighten her, until they enhanced the image. There was a second person standing behind the figure in the window. A man, wearing Ethan's jacket. Part 6. The recording that hadn't happened yet. Rachel stopped sleeping. She kept the lights on. She unplugged every device in the house, and she refused to answer unknown calls. Then at 3:08 a.m., her old laptop turned on by itself. The screen was black. A single audio file appeared. "Final recordings auto." Rachel called the police. Before they arrived, she pressed play. Her own voice came through the speakers. "Ethan." Rachel froze. The recording continued. "I can hear you." Then Ethan's voice answered. "Don't open the door." Rachel looked toward her front door. 3 slow knocks followed. Knock. A pause. Knock. Another pause. Knock. Rachel backed away from the door. Her phone rang. It was Ethan's number. She didn't answer. It rang again. Then again. Finally, the voicemail activated automatically. Ethan whispered, "Rachel." She covered her mouth. "Whatever you hear outside." A long pause. "Don't let it know you're alone." Then the call ended. Rachel looked through the window. Nobody was outside, but there were wet footprints on the porch. They started at the front door and continued toward the window, as if someone had been standing there, watching her. Part 7. The truth inside the recording. The police arrived minutes later. They searched the entire property. There was no intruder, no footprints outside, no damaged locks, nothing. But one officer noticed something strange. Rachel's laptop was still recording. The microphone indicator was active, They checked the audio. It had recorded the entire conversation. Then they noticed something that made everyone silent. The recording contained a sound that nobody had heard in the room. A second set of footsteps, coming from upstairs. The officer immediately drew his weapon. They searched the second floor. Nothing. Then they opened Rachel's bedroom. The room was empty, except for one thing. A small digital recorder sat on the bed. Rachel said she'd never seen it before. The officer pressed play. Static, then Ethan's voice. But this recording sounded different. He wasn't speaking from the abandoned building. He sounded like he was standing right beside the microphone. Rachel. A pause. I finally understand. His breathing became heavier. The recording wasn't warning you about what was happening. Silence. It was showing you what was going to happen. Rachel stared at the recorder. Ethan continued, and every time someone listens, the audio crackled. It gets closer. The recording stopped. Nobody moved. Then the recorder started playing again. But this time, it wasn't Ethan. It was Rachel's voice, whispering one sentence. I'm upstairs. Rachel was standing downstairs. The officer slowly looked toward the ceiling. From above them came 3 soft knocks. Knock, knock, knock. The 3 knocks came again, but this time, they came from inside the bedroom. The officers moved upstairs. Rachel stayed behind them, shaking. The bedroom door was slightly open. One officer pushed it slowly. Nothing. The room was empty. Then they noticed the recorder. It was still playing. Rachel's voice came through the speaker, but the words were different now. Don't turn around. The officer froze. Rachel looked behind her. Nobody was there. Then the recorder whispered again. Too late. The lights went out. For several seconds, nobody could see anything. When the emergency lights finally came back on, the recorder was gone, and so was Rachel. The police searched the house until sunrise. There was no broken window, no open door, no blood, no footprints, nothing. Only one thing remained: Rachel's laptop. Investigators opened the final audio file. The timestamp was 3:14 a.m. They pressed play. At first there was silence. Then Rachel's voice, very calm, very close. She said, "If you're hearing this," a long pause, "you already know where I am." Then Ethan's voice appeared behind hers. "She's listening." The recording ended. Rachel was never found. Ethan was never found either. The abandoned building was eventually demolished, but investigators recovered one final piece of evidence from the old security system, a frame from the night Ethan disappeared. It showed Ethan standing outside the building, and behind him stood Rachel, 3 days before she ever received his first message. No one could explain the image, and the strangest part, the photograph was time-stamped tomorrow's date. Maybe it was a glitch. Maybe someone had manipulated the evidence. Or maybe the recording was never about what happened in the past. Maybe it was always recording what would happen next. So if you ever receive a voice message from someone who disappeared, don't listen to it twice. Because according to Rachel's final recording, the first listen tells it where you are, and the second tells it that you're listening. This is the Hidden Fear Archive, and sometimes the scariest thing isn't hearing a voice in the dark. It's realizing the voice has been waiting for you to hear it.